don't have a solution.
Hi, Andy. Hi, Edwin.
Hey, Gabriel. Doing pretty well. How are you?
Good, good. How's everything going?
Oh, not bad.
Uh,
Hi.
hey, Edwin. So let's see. Hopefully, more people are joining soon. Tiani, yeah. Edwin. I understand that you sent Larry some documents last week.
Yes, that's right about NTN and
Ye-
charging.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
he asked me to present a little bit of
Correct.
what we're doing, and yeah, if there's time in the agenda, I can do
Okay,
that.
perfect. Let me actually put because we had that in the agenda for last week.
Mhm.
Sorry, not last week, last time. So basically 2 weeks ago. Let me add it uh, for this week.
Are you sharing something right now?
Let's wait a couple more minutes to see if somebody else joins. Otherwise, I think we can start. Larry said that he's not joining today. Um, think probably we could start. I don't know whether somebody else is joining, but anyway, let me quickly share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Cool. Hey, Sean.
Gabriel.
Yeah. So for now, I added a couple things on the agenda related to SD core, to on-ramp, and also we have Edwin from Forceway, right? Right, Edwin?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, Forceway, who wants to present some changes the improvements they have made to the SD core, and this is something that Larry mentioned during our last meeting. So we have him here today to gonna present what the work that they have done on these specific regards. Let me actually update this. Yeah, so to kind of from the SD core perspective, we have just a few things. We continue working on enabling support for IMS. We have in place some PRs that the iOS MCM team in India opened, and we are currently in the process of testing that. As a second part, and that's something that I would like to get some input. I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody from the 5G core development team, but since Sandy and Sean are here, but probably would like to get your opinion on this side. Currently, what we do in the SD core Helm charts, we have probably the best way to describe is opening the Helm charts themselves. So the structure that we have is we have the SD core Helm chart as an umbrella, and then we have the different subcharts. And then this, for the 5G control plane, it also has its own subcharts. In other words, it depends on MongoDB and Kafka. We have been trying to do there are some interest internally from the FlexRun team, and also we have some interest from external users that they are interested in deploying Aether as like a self-contained, no internet access. So from that perspective, for example, the FlexRun team, they are interested in kind of running, going to a showroom, do a demo. And from that perspective, there is not going to be they're not going to have access during, the demo side. So to be able to deploy all these things. So we have been trying to kind of see how we can make things easier for the deployment. When we publish the Helm charts, we don't include the Mongo and Kafka charts. So what we do is basically on ramp, when it uses local Helm charts, it pulls these sub dependencies from the internet at that moment. So I want to get your input whether it would make sense to ship the SD core Helm charts, including Mongo and Kafka. That's kind of like simple question to see whether there's any specific comments, suggestions, and positive, negative side.
So at the moment, is it the flag is stopping the Mongo and Kafka charts being packaged?
No, there is nothing to stop us for us to kind of put Mongo and Kafka charts as part of the SD core Helm charts, such that there is no need for later.
Right.
Yeah. So for the case of the package, when we publish these charts, Mongo and Kafka are already there, right? But there are scenarios where users want to use local Helm charts. So in the local Helm charts, Mongo and Kafka, as you can see in the repository, they don't exist here.
Okay, yeah. My understanding is that nested chart dependencies like this should work with like a command like Helm package. So I can't see why they're not being included in the package.
Right. When we ship the official charts, we are including them now. But if somebody wants to use local Helm charts, like let's say make changes to the charts,
I see.
And then of course, to be able to deploy, they need to go to the internet to get these charts, or at least, go into the 5G control plane and do a Helm dependency updates and things like that. So I was thinking that we could actually add these two subcharts as part of the control plane in the repository itself, such that we don't have to rely on ramp to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't advocate repeating charts like in a repository. Like my understanding is if you run Helm package, it'll take a snapshot, it'll save your chart, its dependencies, everything together in a tarball, and you don't have to repeat the charts. They're all bundled up in that tar.gz. I might be missing your point here, Gabriel.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes. So when you package the charts, yes, right? But there is two ways to deploy here. On ramp or SD core based on charts. One is either using the package that is already on the GitHub registry. And the other one, it says, if you are start doing development, you can also clone the Helm charts, clone this directory locally, and then point on ramp to this directory or to this repository. Where in this repository we don't have any package, anything done package. It's just kind of the directories as you see them right now.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So it'll pull them at the time, but it'll pull them at the time of deploying, I think is what you're saying in that normal circumstance.
Correct. When you use local
Right.
charts. So
Yeah, but what I'm saying is Helm package is there to support the offline case. Or Helm package should package up the chart and all its nested dependencies in a tarball, and you can give it to the person who's trying to install offline, and it should include all the dependencies.
oh, okay, yes,
I-
that's a different scenario. Yeah, that's a different scenario, Sean.
Right.
So the scenario and that works fine. The scenario that I'm talking about is that, for example, you want to change some parameter from these charts, right? So anything that you want to change. You have two options. Either publish those charts with that change and then pull them later on to kind of test them to see whether they work. Or the other one is an option that OnRamp has that is using local charts. So hopefully this.
I think I remember this. Yeah, the local charts is an option in the script.
Yeah, so this option, right? So when it points to the package, that's fine. Everything is packaged, is work as you mentioned, right? But if we use local Helm charts, then I need to point this to a specific directory local, which is basically clone this repository. And then, of course, this repository doesn't have these subcharts. So then you need to do Helm dependency update to pull those charts. So the question that I'm kind of like asking is whether we should just pull now and commit these two subcharts as part of the SD core Helm charts, as repository itself.
Is it the case that the deployment from local charts is failing because these charts are not present?
No.
I guess I would expect that OnRamp would just download them.
Yeah, OnRamp, there is a task in OnRamp to do that step, right? Because the charts don't exist. But if the machine is, let's say, as I mentioned in a demo, where there is no internet access and you want to deploy a SD core, it's gonna fail because when OnRamp is gonna try to pull these charts, there is no internet connection, so it's not gonna be able to pull that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, my take is that's a kind of specialized use case.
Yes.
But I don't know. It seems a little bit inelegant to include these charts, these public charts here. But yeah, I don't know that I can see a easier option.
Yeah. Well, I'd agree with you, Andy. I think inelegant is what I call it. Is there any way of having a script like prepare local charts or something like this? That might be able to download them in advance to the local directory.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point, Sean. I would expect from my own demo experience that you need to do some preliminary setup before you show up with your box on the show floor, and maybe some scripts or other tools would be good to just kind of prep the setup.
Okay, so basically, in summary, would be to just get the tar file ahead of time and then just use that tar file instead of using the local directory, because during demo, during a demo, you are not doing development, and the local Helm charts are for development, right? Okay, cool, perfect. Thanks for your input on that side. Those are the two things that I had from the SD core. From the on-ramp perspective, kind of like something that we mentioned last time as well, and we finalized last week, was to create a blueprint for Okudo. Since we created this, like the Okudo image we created like 2 weeks ago, at that time we used a release candidate, which was release candidate 1. There is already an official release for Okudo, and we are planning to create a new image for this candidate and then start using that in on-ramp. So far we have tested this image in simulation using USRPs V210 and X310, and we added the documentation for the Okudo blueprint as well. Something also that we did last week on the on-ramp itself is kind of trying to kind of sync up lots of the submodules, update the information. Some links were kind of outdated or basically not working. Some documentation wasn't aligned with what was basically the targets were, and things like that. So all of that was kind of updated. The next step that I have pending is to move to a newer version of Rancher. So far, we are using version 124, and the last one that I tested is 134. But before moving on to that version, I need to validate that the Grafana charts are properly working. I find the proper version for the Grafana charts, because that's the issue that I faced last time when we moved on the older Rancher version to 124. That's what it's happening itself. And then during this process, I faced the headache of, update a dependency, then sync up with the on-ramp. And it was kind of like challenging, especially a few changes that I made in the Aether Kubernetes repository, because somehow it broke the GitHub action. So I had to revert that, and at that moment I couldn't test that specific change, because again, we have the actions tied to the on-ramp root repository and not to the dependencies. And this is kind of the trigger, Andy, that I mentioned in the Slack channel, whether we should basically simplify on-ramp and just have a single repository instead of having multiple repositories, which makes a little more complicated to management of everything. Yeah, so that's something that I wanted to bring to the TST to see if there is any specific strong opinion. When I started using on-ramp, it was already, as a submodule. But yeah, I don't know whether that reasoning when it was created is still valid now. So that's what I wanted to get any opinion, objections, or any kind of change suggestions on this to kind of simplify on-ramp and to make kind of like things easier for us to keep it up to date.
I
I have a question.
Sure.
Yeah, I see on the on-ramp Okudu blueprint, there is only how the SD core work with Okudu. Do we have any plan to make SD run also work with Okudu?
That is something that we need to check with the SD-RAN team. So yeah, there was an issue yesterday, and I know that the SD-RAN engineering team are working on a few issues. Given that the Okudo is basically the same thing as SRS-RAN, we tried last year to make it work. The problem is that SRS-RAN didn't support multi-TLNA, and that was kind of the limitation on the SRS-RAN side. I don't know what the progress is on the SD-RAN development team or engineering team on that side. Feel free, Tiani, I guess you are already on the Slack channel, so you can ask through one of the channels. I think there is one SD-RAN development channel. Well, I think I removed it. You can use the general Ether on-ramp, and you can check there whether there is any plan on that side. I am not much involved on the SDRAN side. So
yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, so that is all that I have, at least from my side. I don't know if there is any other topic before we move on to Edwin's presentation.
Well, just on the on-ramp thing itself about the independent repos, I'm sorry, I didn't hear Larry's response. I don't know if he sent an email or anything. I know he's not able to make it today, but he's probably the one that would have strong opinions on this.
Correct. Yeah. And that's I sent a message to him as well yesterday as part of the when he mentioned that he's not going to be unable to make it today. So I mentioned that I was kind of planning to bring this topic because the easiest and the simplest that we can actually do this thing would be make life easier, at least from my side. And yeah, anyway, if somebody else has any opinion on this, working on ramp to, especially from the development side, right? So using side is a little bit more like transparent, but from the development side, I think makes things simpler to have just as a consolidated repository instead of having multiple repositories. Yeah, any comment, suggestion, any other topic to bring before we move on into Edwin's presentation?
Just on the subject of on-ramp and the submodules. Yeah, personally, I don't like working with Git submodules. I find it confusing and leading to errors. So if there's no strong reason for keeping the submodule organization, I would agree with moving to a single repo. That sounds good, but yeah, I'd like to hear from Larry, see what he thinks about it. That's all for me.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, now we can.
Oh
Please.
yeah, sorry. For some reason my headphones got automatically disconnected. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to kind of get primarily, Larry's input, because he is the one who worked with Bilal on kind of developing on ramp. So that's what I wanted to kind of see if there is any objection of any reasoning why keeping it in that way. Again, I have worked with some modules in the past, and basically depends on the specific situation. To me, it was great before, at least before I started working on this side. The work that I was doing before was I was using an umbrella open source project, and then the submodule was my internal project. So it was a great separation between the root directory and my dependent directory, because I keep my local repository internally, and the other repository was moving based on the open source community. So that was kind of great working process. But in this specific case, everything is kind of like part of the same group, and there is no kind of like different developments or different groups working in different components. So having as a single monolithic repository is going to make things actually simpler. So yeah, easier to work with. Yeah, so if there is no further comments, we can move to Edwin's presentation. So I suspect you may want to share your screen. Please, if you can introduce yourself, and thanks.
Just a second, I need to allow Zoom to share my screen. Oh, sorry, I need to disconnect and connect again. Just a second.
Sure.
I have some, but I didn't know if you have. Yeah, so
yeah, we can see your screen, just in case. At least I can see your screen.
Yeah, it's best to unmute, of course. So I hope you can hear me as well now.
Yes, we can hear you now. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Edvin Lindqvist, CTO at Forceway, and you might have seen some activity from me as Midwell on GitHub.
Yep.
So just a few words about Forceway, the company. So we have been around for, I think it's 23, 24 years or something. Been in the satellite industry for the entire time, where we have been working in sort of the intersection between satellites and terrestrial networks, primarily mobile networks for terrestrial. So we have been combining satellite and terrestrial. So we're a Swedish company, and so the last years we have seen that 5G is moving into satellites as well. So we thought this was a good idea to start looking on moving from the legacy DVB technologies to 5G. So we've been working a couple of years with pre-studies, and since last year we have been working with this Extend 5G project, as we call it. It's an ESA-funded project, or partially funded by the European Space Agency. And that's sort of a quality stamp because they are quite careful with how we work and so on. And unfortunately, they have somewhat the same development process for satellites as for ground segment things. But that's another story. So right now we are creating this 5G NTN system for geostationary satellites. That's the same satellites used for to watch TV or receive TV. They are sort of circulating at the same speed as the Earth, 36,000 kilometers above the equator. So I usually say that 5G NTN is quite comparable to regular 5G, only that instead of having the base station 500 meters away, you have it 72,000 kilometers away. So the main challenge is the latency. So a single hop over a geostationary satellite is around 250 milliseconds. So as mentioned, this is sort of our next big product. And we have it in our long-term roadmap. So we plan to support what we do for a number of years. And the idea is to more or less everything that we add to SD Core will be contributed, well, at least if the project is interested. So what we're doing with SD Core is that first we are adding support for NTN. That's not a super big change. One part is to add a RAT type, I think that's a radio access type or something, where for terrestrial networks it's NR, but here we have NRG or something like that. And this is used in some places to differentiate the behavior a little bit depending on what red type is used. And to be able to test this, we have added support also to UE ransim. And then we have a number of timers because of the latencies. We need some extra time to do some things. So there are 5 timers we have changed this far or added this far that there might be more over time, but these are the ones we have found to be most important this far. And of course, all default values are set for the terrestrial networks. So it should work in the overall project without setting the timers unless you're on sort of NTN. So I don't think there's much more to say about the NTN support. So as you can see, it's not a lot that we needed to add NTN support to SD core. The biggest changes for NTN is in the RAN. And what we have today is, I would say it's more or less ready to create pull requests as it sits in our internal GitLab today.
Would you like to take questions during the presentation or at the end?
Yeah, I can take questions whenever.
Oh, okay. So regarding these timers that you mentioned, so basically these are timers that need to be added, or is just values that need to be modified?
I think that we have added these timers.
Oh, okay.
There are, because SD core doesn't include all timers.
Oh,
So
okay. Perfect.
yeah, so for some timers we have sort of changed the values by just changing in the Helm values.yaml. And these ones we have added functionality.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Okay, so let's move on to charging, which is quite a large addition. So, and what we are doing, because we will use this for commercial systems, it will be like private networks, but they will be used for satellite services with thousands of users. So charging is an important feature, and I know that in the last meeting.
A quick question, Edwin.
Yeah.
Does charging require the support of lawful intercept?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't on the, okay.
So yeah, charging, I know that in the last meeting, Larry called it more like accounting. So since it's a charging function included, I prefer to call it charging. So we are using the charging function from free 5GC unmodified. So yeah, we pulled the Docker image from free 5GC and use it as is. And so we have there's quite a lot of components involved. We have the SMF is where the big changes and additions are living. Let's see here. Actually, I don't think AMF is involved in the charging. I think I added it there by mistake. UPF has fairly big changes by adding URR to be able to control how much data consumption it can use. And we haven't touched the best parts, only the PFCP interface, that sort of repo. The PCF have some small changes to sort of tell the SMF what rating group and a few other things that are used. For the Open API, there is an extra API, the one listed here below, the NCHF Converge Charging API. And that's the only charging API supported by free 5GC. There is another API called spending limit control, which is used to sort of gradually throttle the speed, but that's not very commonly used, I think, in mobile networks. So the converge charging is enough for most scenarios as I see it. And we have also made some additions to the web console, mainly to read charging data from MongoDB, sort of to query for how much consumption a user have and what sessions they have. And then some smaller additions to the SIM app to make it easy to set it all up. And charging is disabled by default. So if you should use the Docker images with the standard installations, it wouldn't enable charging. So we have also added a new fairly small component, which is, we call it the billing domain or BD. And this is where the CHF sends CDR, the sort of charging data records. So I have, on the next slide, I have more of a call flow, so I can explain it there. So, and the complete, what we've done this far is around 10,000 lines of code and 15,000 lines of tests. So it's quite a lot of added code. And we have relied quite heavily on AI support in the development. So I hope that's not a problem for SD Core. I know that some open source projects, I don't really like AI development. And we have a little bit of a challenge, and that is that the CHF from FreeFiberDC is depending on release 17 or 18 of this converge charging API. And I know there is work on release 18 support for SD Core, but I haven't heard much about that lately in the TST meeting. So it would be good to get an update on what the plans are there. And actually the wood.
Just kind of to give you an update on the release 18. So we continue having progress on that. So far, we have all the components up and running. I am just facing one issue. It seems to be from the authentication side, but that's where we still need to kind of have some testing. But from the migration side, it seems like to be completed. Unit tests, as far as I remember, last time that I checked, everything was working as expected, and that's where I move on into start end-to-end tests. And then I need to kind of finalize the bug in the whole thing. But again, everything going towards release 18 from the API. I'm gonna try to see as well this specific API that you are using, because at least from the open API specs is fairly straightforward to kind of create the code, relying on open API generator, so it makes things simpler. However, I had to make some local changes into the open API generator to kind of address a few things. But in general, I think creating the open API code is going to be fairly straightforward. Now, the 10,000 lines of code that you mentioned, and you mentioned also the majority of the changes are on the SMF. I suspect that most of those lines, those 10,000 lines, are related to the SMF, or?
Yeah, something like 6,000 lines or something. I don't really remember, but
Okay.
that. And the UPF is the other sort of bigger component, but yeah,
Oh,
6,000, 7,000
okay.
lines for SMF.
Okay. Now you mentioned about this new small component, the billing domain. What exactly it is? It's how should I understand this billing domain component?
Yeah, let's move to the next slide and I can explain a little
Ah,
bit
okay.
how the call
Please, sorry,
flow
go ahead.
works. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess you are quite familiar with most of the call flows here. So we'll just give a sort of brief intro. So yeah, first when the AMF requests a PDU session to be established to the SMF will ask the PCF for the SM policy decision. It will do that anyhow. So we have added some extra data with the rating groups and maybe some other things. And when that's done, it will go to the CHF to initiate charging and ask for initial quota. And here we can sort of configure how large sort of batches of quota the CHF will award to for the user. And when that's done, the SMF will tell the UPF that now we can start serving this user and award the sort of session, a set amount of quota, let's say 50 megabytes. And also with the information on when the UPF should request more quota. So the UPF will work for a while and provide data to the user, and at the set level it will send a session report to the SMF and ask for an update. The SMF will send an update to the CHF and get more quota, send it to the UPF again. So basically this is sort of how it works during the entire session, sort of number 5 and 6 here. And then on termination, we'll get a sort of final quota update. And on the right-hand side, this is a little bit on what is happening from the CHF side. So when we get quota updates, actually, I forgot to mention that in converged charging, there are 2 ways of charging. One is online charging, that's sort of prepaid, and then offline charging, which is postpaid. And we support both in this implementation. So in either case, the CHF will send these CDRs, the call data records, to the billing domain. And the billing domain sort of could be a third-party billing system, but we want to use the data ourselves even if there is no billing system involved. So we have this billing domain component that will track the session and the usage during the session and update the MongoDB regularly. And when the session is closed, the session is closed in MongoDB as well. And when the user connects again, it will be a new session. So there will basically be one entry in MongoDB that is updated for each session as the user is connected. And the billing domain will, actually this hasn't been completed yet, but the idea is that we should allow third-party billing systems to get the CDRs as well. So the billing domain will forward the CDRs to third-party billing system if that is enabled. So now we have these charging sessions inside MongoDB. So we need some way of exposing them. So we have added some extra functions to the web console to list all sessions for user. I think it's between start and end time. And also get the usage for user between two set times. So the web console will then calculate that based on the data from MongoDB. And this thing with the CDRs is for both online and offline charging. But if we use online charging, the CHF will have some internal tables in MongoDB where it will track the usage and sort of reduce quota as the quota is used from this sort of SMF, UPF, CHF sort of interaction where we award quota to the user. So when the CHF is out of quota, it will sort of tell the SMF that, okay, now we have to terminate the session. And here we have also added an extra API command to the web console to top up extra quota. And that will, of course, be to the CHF part of the MongoDB. And when the quota is topped up, the web console will sort of tell the CHF that, okay, now we have new quota added. So in case the user was disabled, it will be enabled again. So any questions on the sort of charging flow?
Not from my side. I have one question regarding, sorry, from the SMF UPF. I see that you are creating the URL. Is something that you guys are creating from scratch, or are you relying from a UPF? There is already a branch in the UPF where there was an effort to kind of enable that capability. But it seemed it was, for some reason, it was either never merged, it never finalized, or something. That, I mean, when I joined the team, I saw that branch already there. So I I don't know, I don't have that much historical background on that side. So I suspect that this is something that you guys kind of created from scratch.
Yeah, actually, I didn't find this branch, so we have created it from scratch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for some historical maybe stuff, yeah. Sai or Sim at the time had work on the URR, right? But they had some issues and maybe they didn't fully terminate the work. But hey, if there is this new one, that's great, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what I was gonna, because I mean, whenever I have some spare time, which is almost never, I kind of try to go through whatever is pending there on the different components, and that's what I remember that I saw kind of this URL support. But yeah, so I typically don't delete these branches because there may be something of value there. But again, it's a little bit old. I don't know how valid whether those changes are still at the moment. So
Okay, yeah, so
Now,
might be something to pick up there, but I think our implementation is fairly complete.
Stuff. We deployed the 4G network with T-Mobile I think it was probably back in 2019, right? And because there were users, commercial users on the network, and we were generating CDR, then at least for the wireless network, we were required by the authority to support LI, right? And so maybe here the satellite network is different, right? Because it's not owned by the traditional operators, right? But at the time, I mean, this came to a surprise to us. So we didn't know about it, and we had to enable LI at the time to be able to operate with real customers.
Yeah, actually, LI is required for all commercial networks, as I understand it. And this is actually on our roadmap to add to SD Core to add support for LI.
Okay.
We have this open source project that seems to be quite well supported and mature. It's called OpenLI, that integrates the 5G X1, X2, X3 interfaces for LI. And I actually think this OpenLI project is used by authorities in New Zealand and possibly some other countries.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so quite nice to have an open source project instead of paying loads of money for
Yeah.
commercial systems, especially for integration. Yeah, so yeah, next steps as we see it is that first, if the either project is interested to sort of for this in this contribution, we will have to clean up, improve documentation and so on, and create PRs for the different components. And maybe you want to read up a little bit on the fairly detailed documents I sent for the last meeting. It's even more about the call flows and so on in those, because for charging it's quite large change as I mentioned. So I was a bit reluctant to sort of just create a PR. I think it's good to introduce it to the project first. And I think we should wait until release 18 is done, until sort of creating these PRs. We have the full open API support and so on. It was actually quite easy to generate the APIs using the Open API generator. It worked right away. So I have the release 17 APIs along with the SD Core release 15 in my development repo, but I think we shouldn't have a multi-release API. When we do the integration, it's better to have everything on release 18. We haven't added this to any Helm chart yet, so I think we should add both the free 5GC CHF and the billing domain to the Helm chart, and maybe sort of have some kind of scaffolding in the values file to show how to use charging.
Question then regarding the charging function, since it is kind of primarily relying on 3.5GC, the ultimate goal would be to kind of have a fork of that and make it part of the Aether SD Core project, or what is the goal there? Or is just to keep pulling or pushing any changes into 3.5GC charging function?
Yeah, I have a list of like 7, 8 things I would like to see fixed or changed or added to the charging function.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it can be good to not fork if not needed, because it's easier to support one product in the open source ecosystem, but of course there can be a need to fork it if the free 5GC project are not interested. But I think this is also how the Either project see this. So it would be interesting to hear your view on forking or not forking.
Okay. And now, when you mention about the addition of Helm charts, I suspect you are referring to adding the free 5GC charging function image or pod as part of the SD core Helm charts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I
Okay.
think it will be what should be part of the control plane Helm chart because it's just sort of some additional deployments and maybe a service or two.
Okay. Yeah, before I forget, so I mentioned to you about the branch that we have in the UPF that there was some type of kind of effort to enable a URR. I shared through the chat the link, so if you want to kind of take a look to see whether there is something relevant that might be useful from that effort. But again, that branch is kind of a little bit old now, probably like 5 to 6 years old that haven't been touched. So again, I don't have I don't know what's the status of that. So
okay, it's that old. Maybe it's not sort of modern coding standards then.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, but I'll take a look and see how it, if there's
So
anything from it.
then from kind of like the TST perspective, any comments about Edwin's presentation? Any comments whether there is interest, any decision we would like to make now? We want to wait until next meeting, or how would you like to proceed on this side?
Wait, what is going on?
Did Larry see this presentation, Edwin?
I don't think so.
Sorry.
I was just asking if Larry saw the presentation also.
He did not. So I can share it, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That may be interesting to talk with Larry also, right? For the TST.
Right.
Yeah, so I can send the presentation to Larry right after the meeting on Slack, and then you maybe can continue the discussion on the next meeting. So we're not in no big hurry to have this merged. So whenever you find it.
Right. Yeah, it would be good to kind of continue the conversation during the next meeting. So also Larry is here in the loop. Also, we can try to see if Ajay can join as well. So who is another person on the development team on the SD core. So we can have multiple things. But overall, I like the all what I see and these capabilities to be added into the core.
Yeah, sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to reiterate that it seems to me well aligned with with SD Core, and I think that I definitely see a path to bringing it in. But yeah, those two key individuals we should definitely just sort of loop in together. So we should just make a point of having a TST call where they've confirmed that they can both attend. And I don't think we have to go through the whole deck again necessarily. We could just share the link with them. But it seems to me like there's really good alignment, and so I appreciate you bringing this to the project, and looking forward to working together more.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, and we are interested in becoming a member of the project. And actually, I sent an email to the email address on the webpage a couple of weeks ago, but it hasn't appeared.
That's good.
Yeah, so we're kind of moving to a more informal membership structure. The project's moving into, it's right sort of at a transition phase where effectively it's becoming more community led. It's it's quite a mature project and has a nice stable base. So the best thing to do is to be active in these TST calls and engaged, and that's the primary way to work with the project. So it's great that you're here today. Great to meet you, and looking forward to doing more together.
Yeah, okay, that's great to know. Yeah, so yeah, and we will, as mentioned, continue work on SD core. So lawful interception will be one next fairly big task to take on. And we also have seen that when network functions are restarted, everything breaks basically. So we are investing that, and we'll put quite some effort into that problem. Maybe that's something someone else has seen. Like if you restart the SMF, everything breaks.
How do you typically deploy the SD core? Do you use on-ramp, or do you deploy it directly from Helm charts?
With on-ramp.
With on-ramp, okay. Yeah, so we have made, especially last week, we did a lot of kind of like cleanup, removing some stuff. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation of today's meeting, also we are trying to move into a newer version of Kubernetes, of Rancher. So try to run a test with the latest on-ramp that we have so far, and let me know whether you still see those issues, because I have seen a couple different things that I wasn't really expecting to see. But it is supposed to be that I already fixed them, and it will be good to see whether you are still gonna see those kind of issues with latest versions.
Yeah. Basically, the problem is that old IP addresses, sort of from the old network functions, are still left in the NRF. And then we have each network function's cache. So
Okay.
in many cases try to contact the previous version of the network function.
Okay, got it. So it means like something like you reboot the machine and then the machine comes back again, and then all that information is already cached on like MongoDB, and that's what the NRF is reading, or?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
And for high availability, we need everything to sort of, if one network function restart, it should be operational right away, and everyone should know about the new network function.
Yeah, I mean, at least when once in a while, if for some reason the AMF crashes or things like that, I mean, the Kubernetes redeploys a new one, and the whole process starts again, unless there is something already in place. I mean, let's say a PDU section already in place. But if nothing is there, everything gets kind of sync up automatically. But if you can please provide more details on the specific issues, such that we can try to replicate, we can certainly try to help you to address this issue and find a solution, right?
Yeah, so we will update everything to the latest version and test again.
Yeah,
So,
and let us know. Feel free to kind of Slack probably would be a good place to kind of start on that, kind of sharing the logs and things like that you see, and a procedure for us to kind of try to replicate. That's gonna make things easier, to try to kind of get into the bottom of the issue itself.
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, both me and several of my colleagues have had the problem when you develop and sort of restart network functions quite often. From my side, I've seen it's best to sort of redeploy entire core, because otherwise sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So, but we will
Okay.
send information how to if the problem has not been fixed in the latest versions.
Right. Yeah. If you still see the issue, please collect as many logs as possible and share the details on how we can kind of try to replicate. And then we can kind of dig deeper into that, such that you don't spend, actually make more productive progress on the specific work that you guys are doing.
Okay, sounds
Cool.
really good.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, we are 4 minutes over. Sorry. I just noticed that. Yeah, Edwin, thanks for joining and for the presentation. So let's keep in sync, especially next week. We're gonna try. Highly likely Larry's gonna be back online. I'm gonna try to see if Ajay can also join us, so we can have also additional input. So far, at least for our side, at least Simon mentioned is, it's a really good thing that we see like aligned to SD core and something that we would like to have. At least a person that would like something that I really like as part of the SD core.
Yeah, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me on Slack.
Okay,
And
perfect.
my
Certainly.
colleague share as well. So.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks everybody. And sorry for going over like 5 minutes, but yeah, hopefully it's a very productive meeting.
It was great. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks everybody. Bye bye.